So this is a small topic and I would like to quickly finish this topic and start a new topic today. So, how to remember names? Sometimes you need to remember a name of a person, but you are very bad at remembering names. You cannot remember names. If you are a person like me who cannot remember names, then definitely you need to work hard. You have to use certain techniques to remember the names of the person you meet, and especially when it is important, when you need to remember the name of a person, you are supposed to use these techniques in order to remember the name of the person. Suppose you need to remember the name of a visitor. Okay, you need to remember the name of a visitor and you could not do it. That might not be good. Okay, that might not be good for you, and that is why whenever it is required, you must remember, you must know how to remember the name of that particular person. So art of remembering name, this is known as the art of remembering names. Okay, so there's a client, you meet the client and then you forget the name of the client. So that is not good, isn't it? That is not at all good. And you couldn't help it. You couldn't help yourself to remember his name. You met the client and you forgot the name of the client. Next time again when you meet him, you would have to again ask his name. And that is quite awkward, isn't it? So sometimes you are supposed to remember certain names. All the time you cannot avoid the names. Yes, most of the time you can do it. It's not necessary to remember the names of each and every person you meet on a regular basis, but sometimes it's very necessary to remember the names. Okay, so that is why, what are the techniques to remember the names? So I have listed 7 techniques to remember the name. So first of all, focus on the person you are talking to. So whenever you are having a conversation with a person, whenever you are having a conversation with a person, you must focus on the person rather than focusing on 3 different things. Okay, of course, if you know the person, if you are accustomed with the person, then definitely you would know the person. But when you meet a new person, when you meet an unknown person, when you are talking to that person for the first time, then you are supposed to remember the name of the person, isn't it? How are you going to do it? If the person is a known person, then of course you know the name of the person. If the person is unknown and if you are talking to that person for the first time, then of course you have to use certain techniques in order to remember the names. If you can easily remember the names, then it's it's a good thing, isn't it? But if you cannot do so, then you need to use certain tricks to remember the name. So first trick is to focus on the person. When you are having a conversation with the person, focus on him. Okay, when he or she gives his or her introduction. Okay, so when you meet someone for the first time, the person would introduce himself or herself and you would also introduce yourself, isn't it? So you have to listen to him properly. You have to focus on the name. You cannot just think about something different, or you cannot just do something different, because if you are busy with your mobile phone, if you are thinking about something different, then you would not be able to concentrate and you would not be able to remember the name. So that is why when you begin a conversation, when the person introduces himself or herself, focus. Your focus is very important in order to remember the name. Listen actively. Okay, if you do not listen to the person actively, of course you will not be able to remember the name of the person, isn't it? So if you are an active listener, it would help you to remember the name quickly. And if you are a listener who filters everything and listen, if you are a listener who thinks about 10 different things while somebody else is saying something to him, then of course you would not be able to remember anything and even the name of the person. So listening actively is very important when somebody is telling you something, when somebody is especially giving his or her introduction. Okay, now after the person says his or her name, after the person says his or her name, you can do another thing in order to remember the name. Repeat the name of the person you just met. Okay, repeat the name of the person you just met. So suppose I am a person whom you're meeting for the first time today. Okay, so I would definitely give my introduction. Hello, my name is Jayashree Deka. Hello, Jayashree Deka. Okay, so this is how you can repeat. Okay, this is how you can repeat, and this would help you to remember the name. Repeat the name of the person you just met. This technique would help you to remember the name of that particular person. Okay, next is focus on a particular feature of a new person's face. Okay, why to do this? Why are you supposed to focus on a particular feature of a new person's face? That would help you to recognize the person. Okay, that would help you to remember the name of the person. Okay, so when we meet people, when we generally meet people, we do not tend to remember a lot of things. We do not tend to remember a lot of things, and we do not also remember a lot of things about him, isn't it? Now when you meet a known person, of course you know his name, you know how he or she looks, so you can easily recognize him. But when you meet someone for the first time, you might not be able to recognize that person later on. Okay, so in order to recognize the person later on and also to remember the name, you can use this technique of focusing on a particular feature of that particular person. So that is going to help you to remember or to recognize the person. Okay, so this is a technique that can be used in order to remember any name or to recognize a person, because I personally forget the name and also the face. Okay, when I meet someone for the first time, so I generally forget the name and also the face. I have to meet that person for I have to meet the person few more times in order to remember his face or his name. And if I meet somebody very important, then I cannot forget the name of the person and I cannot forget the face of the person. So that is why it's important to, if you have this kind of a problem, it is important to focus and it is important to figure out something which would help you to remember the person. So maybe focusing on a particular feature of a new person's face would help you to remember the name of the person or would help you to recognize the person. Because when you meet a lot of people on a regular basis, okay, when you meet a lot of people on a regular basis, you might not be able to remember each and every one, isn't it? If you are good in remembering names, then of course you would be able to remember not only one name but 10 different names. But if you are a person who cannot remember names, when the when the person is new to you, then you can use these techniques to do the same. These techniques would definitely help you to recognize the name of the person, or also it would help you to recognize the person. The next point is link the new name with something you already know. Okay, now this is another technique that can be very helpful. Now you meet a person, the person gives his or her introduction. In order to remember the name of the person, you can also relate his name, relate his or her name with something you already know. Okay, that would help you to remember that particular name. Not only the name, okay, not only the name, any word. If you have to remember some word, try to link it with something. Okay, try to link it with something you already know. Then definitely it would help you to remember the word or the name of the other person. So the connection you form between the person's name and the other thing, okay, the other thing, that particular connection would definitely help you to remember the name of that person. Okay, once you think about the connection, then it would help you to remember the name as soon as you think about the connection, because the connection is something related to you already know, isn't it? So as soon as you remember the connection, okay, as soon as you remember the connection, so you would be able to remember the name too. Okay, how? So suppose you meet a person whose name is Christ. Okay, his name is Christ. Now you might forget the name of the person. How will you be able to remember his name? Using this particular technique. Okay, using this particular technique, by linking the name with something you already know, how would you be able to remember this particular person's name? So his name is Christ. So now you can relate it to Christmas. You know about Christmas, okay? So even if you forget his name, so you can just think about the connection. Christmas. So automatically you would be able to remember the name of the person as well. So try to create connections. Try to create connections when you get to meet new people. Try to create connections when you get to know, when you have difficulty in remembering names, and when you get to meet a new person, and when you need to remember the name of the person, in that case you need to form connections. Okay, so with something you already know, that would help you to remember the name of the person later on. Next is break down complicated names, spell it out. So if the name of the person is very complicated, okay, if the name of the person is very complicated and it's difficult to remember, in that case, what you can do is you can break down the complicated names, and you can also try to spell it out. Okay, that would help you to remember the name. Sometimes it's very difficult to remember the complicated names. A lot of people have complicated names, very difficult names. It's very hard to pronounce. So in that case, if you break down the name, okay, if you break down the name and if you try to spell it, it would help you to remember the name of the person. Okay, next is to repeat the name when you say goodbye. So after your conversation is over, you are going to say goodbye, isn't it? So again repeat the name. That would again help you to remember the name. So after the person introduces himself or herself, you can repeat the name of the person you just met. Hello, hello. You can again repeat the name of the person. Hi, Priya Kapoor. Hi, Mrs. Reema Sharma. So you can repeat the name after. You can repeat the name of the person you just met after he or she. After he or she gives his or her introduction. Then again you can repeat the name at the time of parting. Okay, when you are supposed to say goodbye, you can again repeat the name. Bye, Rahul. Okay, you can repeat the name in order to remember the name. So these are the certain techniques that would help you to remember names. Yes, we are human beings. We might not be able to remember 100 names, but yes, these techniques would definitely help you to remember at least few names. Okay, at least few names, the name of few important people. Okay, and when you would continuously meet that person, then definitely you would remember the name. And of course, when you meet someone for the first time, it's difficult to remember the name, and also it's difficult to recognize him. But when you frequently meet that person, you don't have to apply these techniques later on in order to remember the name. When you meet someone for the first time, okay, when you meet someone for the first time, and if you cannot remember the name, then you can use these techniques to remember his or her name. And by the time you meet him or her for the fifth time, you would definitely be able to recognize. You would definitely be able to recognize him or her, or you would definitely be able to remember the name as well. So it's totally related to a person whom you meet for the first time. Okay, of course we remember a lot of names, we know a lot of people and we remember their names, isn't it? But it's difficult to remember names of new people. So that is why if you are meeting 100 new people in a day, it's of course difficult to remember their names. But there would be some people whose names are very important, and you have to remember the names of those people. So in that case, out of 100, maybe 10 names are important. So in that case, you have to use this technique to remember the names, and you can also write it down. Okay, I would also suggest, although I have not mentioned that point here, but you can also write it down in order to remember the name. And if you exchange the phone numbers, then again definitely you can save his number, isn't it? You can save his number, you can write down the name again while saving his number, and that would again help you to remember his name. You can write it down on a paper, you can use your mobile phone, you can use your mobile phone in order to write down his name. Okay, so there are several applications where you can write notes, isn't it? So you can use any of the application to write his name. Okay, so in that way you would be able to remember the names. And if somebody is important, if you think that yes, this person is important and I have to remember the name, we do not have any other option rather than remembering his name. So if you cannot remember his name easily, follow all the techniques, you would definitely be able to remember the names. Any questions, students, regarding remembering names? I want to know from you, can you remember names? When you meet someone for the first time, can you remember the name? Can you remember his or her name? I want
Sometimes,
to.
ma'am, it depends, ma'am.
Okay, it depends. What about the rest? There are some people who can remember all the
Uh,
names. Yes, Rajiv?
if the man, it's depend on the man. If he's
Uh,
important to me, then I remember his name. If he's not important, then I don't remember his name.
Acha, okay. And what about the rest? Okay, so this is a common thing actually. So most of us, when we meet new people, if the person is important, then Of course, we try to remember the name, and if you're someone who is good in remembering names, then definitely you would not have to work hard to remember the name. But if you are someone who cannot remember the name easily or quickly, in that case you can follow all the techniques to remember the name. And especially when you meet a lot of people on a regular basis, and most of the people are new, so in that case there would be some people who would be important and whose names are important. So in that case you have to remember, and if you cannot remember it easily, then follow the techniques. You would definitely be able to remember the names. So I have already shared these points with you all yesterday only, so go through it. And a link is also available. Okay, a link is also available, so you can click on the link and you can also check it. Okay, there are certain things given, there are certain tips and tricks given to remember the names, that would help you to remember the names. So you can also click on the link, you can search the link, you can click on the link and you can just check. Okay, there are certain other techniques which are given. You'll find some certain similar techniques, and you'll find some different techniques as well. So if you want to, you can go to the link as well. So we have some time, so that is why I would quickly like to start another topic as well, because remembering names is a very small topic. So I want to start a new topic today. Okay, now I have only taken a few classes. Earlier you had your practicals, and then sometimes there's a holiday, so that's why we have missed a lot of classes. So I might have to do some extra classes as well. So if I call you for any extra class, so if I ask you to join any extra class, please do join, because it's for you. Because I have to also finish the course, I have to explain you all the topics, because each and every topic is important for your exam. Okay, so that is why I may ask you to join on a different day as well. Okay, so do join whenever I ask you to. It won't be a regular thing. Okay, I won't ask you to join or do a class, extra class on a regular basis. But yes, maybe sometimes when I miss a class in a week. Okay, when I miss a class in a week, so maybe then I might ask you to come for another class. Okay, so that I can at least explain you the topics and I can complete the syllabus. Okay, so the topic that I'm going to do now is again, this is from the second unit itself, and it is visiting card exchange. Okay, so what is a visiting card? Do you know what is a visiting card? Can anyone tell me what is a visiting card?
A card where your name, profile,
Hmm.
and your company name is written,
Yes, Abul, you're right.
contact number.
Yes, you're right. So, a card which has your name, your address, your phone number, your email ID, and also the name of your organization along with the designation is written. That is a visiting card. So, almost every professional has a visiting card. Okay, now there are certain ways of exchanging a visiting card. When you have a visiting card, you of course would want to share your visiting card. You would of course want to give that visiting card to someone in order to make connections, isn't it? So how are you supposed to exchange a visiting card? How are you supposed to give a visiting card? And how are you supposed to take a visiting card? There are certain ways that must be taken into consideration while exchanging visiting cards. So visiting card, as you all know, it's a card where you have your name, your phone number, your email ID, and details regarding your organization, the name of your organization, your designation, and maybe your address would be written on the visiting card. Okay, so it's a small card. It's like a debit card. So it's a small card, and you can design it. You can design it yourself. But if you want to design a visiting card, okay, so do not make it too colorful, or do not use a lot of colors, or do not make it look casual. Okay, you need to exchange your visiting card for professional purposes, isn't it? You would definitely choose to give your visiting card to a person, uh, who can help you to grow your business, or who can help you in your profession, isn't it? So you're going to share your card. You're not going to share your card with your grandmom, isn't it? Because maybe you can show her, but she doesn't need your card because you are not related to her professionally. When you make professional relationships, when you socialize, when you make connections, uh, in order to grow in your career, you exchange visiting cards, isn't it? So there are certain do's and don'ts. Okay, there are certain do's and don'ts, and you must know about all these things, because maybe in the future you would like to have a visiting card of yourself. Okay, so in that case, how are you supposed to exchange it? How are you supposed to offer your visiting card to another person? So you must know about it. And when you offer your visiting card, most probably the other person would also offer you. And how are you supposed to accept the other person's visiting card, and how are you supposed to take it? So how are you basically supposed to exchange visiting cards? You must know about the rules and regulations related to this. I have already mentioned what is a visiting card and what are the basic details that are provided on a visiting card: name, address, designation, organization's name, and phone number and email ID. Do not forget to, like, a phone number and the email ID is a very important part of the visiting card. So if you want to have your own visiting card, okay, so do not forget to include the phone number and the email ID. Okay, and do not make it too colorful. I have already mentioned that you are not supposed to make it too colorful. You are not supposed to make it too colorful. Okay, do not make it too colorful. It is the motive of having a visiting card is to make connections, isn't it? Is to make connections, and it's totally professional and formal. So your card must also look formal. Now I am going to share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. So I would be explaining to you all the rules to follow while exchanging any visiting card or any business card. Okay. So if you have a card, never leave your home or office without your card. Okay. So this is the point that I want you to know. So if you have a card, okay, if you have your own card, do not forget to take your card with you when you leave your home. Okay, when you leave your home, do not forget to take your card. You must have a few cards with you all the time. Okay, you must have a few cards with you all the time, so that when you meet someone and if you have your card with you, then you can definitely share the card, isn't it? You can give the card. And if you do not have the card, you cannot just say, I have a card and I would share my card with you, I would give you my card. You cannot say this, isn't it? So that is why carry your card, and you must have at least few cards with you, not only one, a few cards with you. Then the next point is, you can keep your cards in a card case. There are card cases available in the market. Okay, so if you have a card, then you can keep your card in a card case. Okay, so that your card is secure, so that the card case protects the card from any wear and tear, any kind of damages, because it's a paper at the because at the end of the day your business card is also a paper, isn't it? So there's a risk that it might be torn, isn't it? So that is why do not keep your card here and there in your pocket or anywhere you want to. Okay, do not keep your card anywhere. If you have a card, try to use a card case so that the card case can protect your card and your card stays in a good condition. Your cards stay in a good condition. Okay, because when you offer a crumpled business card, when you offer a business card with a lot of wrinkles, with a lot of business card which is not proper, which is torn or which is crumpled, then definitely it is going to make a poor impression. Okay, the first impression would be very poor. So that is why protect your business cards. Next point is to do not search for your business card. Okay, do not just get into your bag and search for your business card. You must know where you have kept your business card all the time. Okay, you must be aware that my business card is in this pocket of my bag. So when you want to exchange your business card, when you want to give your business card to someone, then you must put your hand in that pocket of your bag and quickly take out the business card. Okay, you are not supposed to search for a longer duration. You must not do that. Okay, you are not supposed to search for your business card for a very long duration in your bag. You must know where you have kept it and remember it. Next very important point is hand your card with discretion. Okay, you are supposed to confidently hand them the card. Okay, when you're handing your card to someone, when you are giving your card to someone, you are supposed to give it in a confident manner. Do not say that my business card is not at all worth, or I'm just sharing my business card. It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing important in it, and the quality is not at all good. Okay, you must behave properly. Okay, you must behave properly without offending the other person. Okay, you must behave properly without offending the other person. And when you hand the business card to them, okay, to the other person, when you give the business card to the other person, make sure that you behave politely and confidently. Okay, you must behave politely. Then the next point is give and receive cards with your right hand. So this is another very important point. Never use your left hand to give your card. Okay, even if you are a left-handed person, do not use your left hand to give your card. Use your right hand to give your card. Also, while exchanging, Also take the card of the other person with your right hand. Do not use your left hand to receive or to give any cards. Okay, so I would like to end here and I would like to continue this in the next class. Okay, I would be continuing to explain how to exchange visiting cards in the next class too, because the time would be over soon. I don't have much time now. So any doubts, students? Do you have any doubts? The points that I have explained are very easy and very easy to remember. So just go through the notes that I would provide you, okay? And if you have any kind of doubt, you can share. You can tell me now if you have any kind of confusion. And later on, after reading the notes, if you have any kind of confusion, then after in the next class, you can definitely ask me. Any doubts, students? Have you understood? Have you understood, students? Because in the future, this would be something that would be very important. Okay, so that is why you must know the rules and regulations to exchange visiting cards. Any questions, students? Is it clear, students? If it is clear, then at least say yes.
Yes, ma'am.
What about the rest? At least you can write it down in the chat box whether it's clear or not. All right then, students. That's all for today. I hope all of you have understood. And again, I'm repeating, go through the notes and let me know if you have doubts, if you have any doubts in the next class. And that's all, students. Take care and have a good day ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Bye-bye, everyone.